more stuff? Yes, there's always more stuff here at the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. The Randy's Collection series, how about that? You know, if you didn't push subscribe by now, I'm not even going to talk to you. But you got to push the follow button so you get alerted every time there's another episode. And you should be sharing this stuff with your friends so that they can be educated on all this good stuff too. You got to get them educated. What's the matter with you? Don't be selfish. You have to share this stuff. So while we're over here in Randyland, and we're just overwhelmed. We were just talking about some machines over here, and I see stuff on top. And there's always stuff on top. And I don't know why there's always stuff on top, because I can never get to it. I'm looking for something I can stand on. I don't know how sturdy these are. This one's pretty heavy. Well, these, you know what these are? I bet you don't even know what they are. You know, when you go and you get soda from the fountain, they actually mix syrup with water and CO2 to make the seltzer, and these are the stainless steel containers that they deliver the syrup in, and you have to connect your hose system and your air lines into the different containers here. They're canisters of syrup. They don't even use them anymore. These were really great because they used to be able to take them back and they'd refill them with syrup and all that stuff. Very, very eco-friendly. But they switched to something called bag in a box. Doesn't that sound friendly? So it's a plastic bag filled with syrup inside a cardboard box. And you'd connect the hoses the same way, and this thing would suck the syrup out of the bag and mix it in, and into your cup with your ice, and you get your soda. And the difference was you would throw the bag in the box away in the garbage when it was empty. Whereas the cylinders, you would keep them until you were out of syrup, and then they'd have to refill them again on it. So it was one of those things that was just, I guess, not very labor friendly, that they'd have to constantly carry these things in and out. So I'm climbing up on top to see what's up here. 8-track tape players. Yes. Look at this. This is a slot machine stepper. How do you know that's a slot machine stepper? Because I'm experienced. See, this is a stepper unit. Now, stepper unit is an electromechanical device. You'd have two solenoids. One is up, one is down. Probably this is up and that's down. And it would ratchet turn this particular gear. And on the other side, there would be finger wipers that would go across a printed circuit board and make its different connections to whatever circuits were necessary. Now, the reason this has a plastic thing in the middle is this was a counter for a hopper in a slot machine, which would have high payouts. So typically, a complete revolution might be 40, maybe 50 steps. Sometimes you could get one that's 60, but typically they were far less than that. 40 would be a lot, 30, 24. But this one could revolve many times around. And as it revolved, it would slide this over. You see this here, these wipers? These would slide over, okay, to the next position as it would go through the thing. And as it would go over, it would make a contact over here when it got to that point, telling it that it was, times how many. It was a multiplier, and it could go over. So these are very intricate things. This is a plug-in unit too. And they would go into some kind of slot machine. And it's another kind of stepper unit. Now, this is one that's not a high count one. And this is only one direction. And it only has one solenoid for going around. But this is a timer unit. See that? And that would be from a slot machine also. What is this? Oh, I love these things. Oh my gosh, look at that. Is it a 5-polar? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's a 5-pole slip ring. How neat is that? I love neat stuff. This hub with the screws here, you would be able to connect to something and it would turn. You see that turning? See it turning right on the top there? So this part here with the holes would be connected to one plane and something else would be connected there. Think of it like a rotating sign that's on a pole. So the pole is mounted straight, but the sign turns, okay? How do they keep the electric in the sign on while it's turning, because if it was got a wire going into it, twist the wire up, well, they use slip rings. And these slip rings inside here carry the current. You got 5, so you got 5 wires here. Each wire goes to one of those brass rings inside. And you have these wipers, they're really on there hard, and they're rubbing onto that ring. And these wipers, you can connect your current to. So you can connect your wires here with a connector, and they'll never move. Whereas these wires will move along with the sign. So this is a stationary and this is a move, or vice versa. Well, anyway, so you'd use a slip ring for a sign or something that's going to rotate. Can you think of something that would be really useful for? How about if this was bigger, you could use it on a merry-go-round, right? The merry-go-round's turning around, but it's still illuminated with its lights, right? Well, how do they do that? They use slip rings. What is this? See, you're getting an education. Looks like a piece of metal. What is it, ductwork? No. This piece of metal has a bag in it. You would put the bag in the metal, and you would put a big rubber band around to hold it together. You'd pour water in that, and you would shove it in a freezer, and you would create blocks of ice. Well, what do you have to go through all that for? Because when the ice expands, it's going to get bigger, and it's going to stretch out the sides, and that's why the rubber band can stretch. Then you just open the sides, and you got ice in a bag, and you rip the bag open, and you got ice. And what would you use that for? Snow cone machines, my friends, snow cones. It uses lots and lots of ice that it shaves down into snow so people can get snow cones. You know, I look further down, I see more and more good stuff, but I got to get down a second here because I don't want to lean over too far on this. It looks like it's a big pillow, but it's not. And that's not a Jungle Cruise, joke where they say it looks like it's, an elephant, sneezing, but it's not. It's not. This is a quilt cushion from a mattress, an old one. It's up there for a reason, because it is hiding and it is covering a beautiful merry-go-round. Look at that. This unit turns, and the horses will go up and down on their, their platforms here. And it is actually pewter. Not the whole thing, but if you look at all the silver, these animals and the different grid works and all that stuff and the trimming, that's all made of pewter. And even on the inside here, you see all the intricacies. This is really, really a beautiful piece. And it plays music. It plays merry-go-round music through, an 8-track tape that comes on the side. And this came from Walt Disney World in Florida. It was used at the Walt Disney Village, Lake Buena Vista Village, the shopping village before there was a downtown Disney or Disney Springs or anything else like that. And they had this beautiful setup with the merry-go-round and pewter trees all around it and little buildings. Somewhere along the line, they were no longer going to run that store or that display. And big corporations don't waste a lot of time. They're not going to take things apart caringly and spend the man hours to take things apart and transfer it and store it, and then what are they going to do with it, or then try to sell it. So they usually just rip things apart, and they end up broken, and they end up destroyed. And when I got this was in pieces. I mean, literally pieces. You can see there's a crack here that went further in by far, because these were all in broken pieces. This whole thing was busted. I put this together piece by piece and glued it and sealed it and redid all the trimmings or whatever, and added the bigger lights. These all light up from the inside. I made this work again, and I did this when I was working in Florida, and I had, time off at the house, and I would work on that during my time off. And the top I had to make myself, and it's coat hangers, with, you see the wires pulling the thing. This little coat hanger, and inside here you see all the glue and the silicone, and I wired lights all around it because it didn't originally have lights. So I put lights behind so that would all illuminate on the top. And these here are for the horses to stay straight. So instead of just a pole, that would turn, they're rectangles, so they go up and down. And all this was built, if you look down in the hole, you see all those things held in with silicone and glue and everything you can imagine. It's going right on down the line here. We were talking about slip rings. And that's why I mentioned the slip rings, so you could better understand how you keep it illuminated as it's turning around, because yes, this has slip rings in order to keep the power on as the unit is turning. Now, unlike a regular merry-go-round, okay, you're getting your education into merry-go-rounds, and people say, well, how do you know so much about merry-go-rounds? Yes, I have a merry-go-round too. I have a Denzel, early 1900 merry-go-round. Someday it's in my someday category of putting it together somewheres, but that's a big, heavy machine, and it has a center pole, and it's mounted with braces like a cross on the floor, and then anchors going up like this, and a giant cast slip ring on the top that was for the weight, not the electric. They had other slip rings around it that would be for the electric. Well, coming off the cast crown would be the arms with the cranks that would go around that would lift the horses up and down as you go around. And coming from that top piece of the pole were supports to hold the weight of the merry-go-round off the floor. The merry-go-round floor never touches the ground because it's really just spinning around on this top crown of cast steel. I mean, it's unbelievable how heavy this thing is. This doesn't have that luxury. I was able to lift the crown off. There are no supports holding it down. There is no center shaft. So what's happening here is underneath this merry-go-round, there is a floor that is made with waves going all the way around. And the poles go right through and actually lift and lower as the floor beneath it lifts and lowers. Unlike the crank system, which would lift it from the top, these are being pushed up and down from the bottom. This is not how a merry-go-round is made. I've never seen an actual merry-go-round made like that that's in commercial use for people, although I don't see why they couldn't do it like that. But, I'm obviously like to think of the tumblebug ride as a kid when you're going around the track and the track will go up and down like this. You could do it like that, but merry-go-rounds aren't made like that. But this one is, because you don't have those sweeps coming down and all that heavy gear work or whatever, so it's pretty interesting. But this is a wonderful piece that's very, very beautiful. And I always pictured someday building a machine that would have glass all around it, and you could put your coin in and watch the merry-go-round turn. I mean, how much fun would that be? I think that would be interesting. It's one of those novelty pieces that people, just like to do in special amusement centers. So he's hiding up here. He's hiding under his plastic and under his, old quilted, bed cover and all that stuff. And, to keep people at bay so that they don't get too close to it, you put your dirty finger. So they think that E.T. was over here. So you have my friend the finger. And if you don't watch out, somebody's going to give you the finger right here from the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. So we'll see you next time. Here, finger, finger. Next time, bye.